So let's talk about your food, your cooking style. Tell us about it. How would you
Yeah,
describe it?
my roots are Louisiana and Texas. They will always be. It's how I'm influenced. I decided to break the menu down by down home roots. So that would be like gumbo, my mother's gumbo, which to me is the best gumbo I've ever had in the world. And people continue to say the same thing. I'm getting ready to go to Albania next week, and I'm making
Nice.
gumbo in Albania. Like that's crazy to me.
Wow.
Hot water cornbread with greens, and we serve it with pepper vinegar sauce and hot sauce on the side and shaved onions on the top and grilled turnips in the inside. Like, that is like the root of a lot of the cooking that I had as a child. But
Mhm.
because of all of the other experiences, I move into the modern roots. So you have down home roots, then we go into modern roots. Modern roots may be, a peach salad with great, cured ham, pecans, Steen's vinaigrette. Also, it's important for me to use certain ingredients and certain people who are making things so that our stories can continue to be told. Steen's was something I used on everything, growing up, whether it was pancakes or biscuits, right? And they make a vinegar as well. And so, using that, Zumo sausage out of Beaumont, Texas made is my favorite sausage. And so I wanted to make sure I use that product as well. And then when it comes to our entrees and the things that I like to play around with, I often look at, from inspiration, I use dishes and things that I have studied and learned about Africa.
Okay.
From the fonio grains that we have on the menu to using harissa to chermoula, all these spices and flavors that I didn't even know growing up that became so interesting to me.
Right.
And it helps me feel connected in many ways. So a lot of that, we use a little bit of Caribbean influence as well so that I can play with, Scotch bonnets and tamarind and the spice flavors and all of that.
Nice.
And so it tells the story, and it's who I am. We are a mix of people and places and things. And I always say, the South is composed of many people. It's not
Right.
one race.
Right.
And it's everyone coming together and creating something that is delicious for that area.
Wonderful, wonderful. What are ingredients that you have to have in your kitchen at all time? If it doesn't matter what you run out of anything else, these ingredients better be in my kitchen.
Lime, fish
Okay.
sauce,
Oh,
one or two vinegars. I
oh.
always need it, and a good sea salt.
Wow, wow. So let's talk about after Top Chef, and then really things are starting to kick in. Tell us a little bit for those who aren't familiar briefly with Private Social. That was your first restaurant,
That
correct?
was my first restaurant. Private Social opened here in Dallas. Pretty much a big, big event for us. We rolled out the red carpet literally. It was fun. I had so many Top Chef friends that came, and I mean, I had like 10 friends come to the opening. And you create these bonds with people when you go through the same things. Like, you can sit on the couch and say what you would have made for Top Chef, but I guarantee when you get there, it's a whole nother story. And no one, and I mean no one, can really understand unless you're there. So the
Right.
bonds that are made are incredible. And so they came and we cooked. We had a great time, and it was really the first time that I gave a little bit of myself. And again, that was like 11 years ago. So
Mhm.
I wasn't quite there all the way as well. I was just cooking great food and having fun doing it. And it was fantastic because I could pull from so many different things. The thing is, I've studied all over the world. I have spent a great amount of time traveling, understanding food and flavors and how to blend them together with what I do.
Mhm.
So Private Social was an opportunity for me to really showcase that part of me.
Wow, and I believe you had bone marrow on the,
Oh,
menu, if
yes.
I recall, going way
I
I know
did bone marrow, sweetbreads. I did a smoky ham hock broth. I was
look
doing a
at
whole
you.
lot. Oxtail, nudie. I mean, it was all kinds of items.
Wow. Lessons learned from that restaurant that you have taken to the next restaurants.
Pick your partners wisely.
Okay.
I can't stress that enough. As a chef in the spotlight at that moment, you get tons of opportunities. You have so many people pulling. You have so many events that want to happen. You have people want to do business with you, go in business with you. It's not a lack of money really at that moment. I ended up having great people come along, and they were offering to do what I've always wanted to do. And having a group of people as investors was very troubling for me, because whoever has the money has the power. And though
Mm,
your face may be on it, and everyone knows it as your restaurant, when it comes down, because you're going to have some hard days. It's all good when the days are great. It's all good when you're making a lot of money. But the first little trickle of anything, right? A day you don't have the sales you need to, and now you have another day of it. And then it turns into a week of bad days, and they have to either put money in, or they have other people in their ears saying, you should be doing this. The people who have the money have to say so. And a lot of times you make the deal, and they often say there'll be, a quiet investor, or, they won't say anything. All the
mm,
decisions will be on you and the day to
mm,
day. But when trouble arises, and trouble will always arise, no matter what business you're in, um, they're going to say. And so I ultimately had to understand what was really happening, and that to be in a business that has your face,
mhm,
has your full menu, you've built it, meaning you've picked out tables and chairs and design, but yet at the end of the day, it's still like you're working for someone else, because they're telling you how you should do things.
right.
And for me, I wanted to be free of that. I mean, if I'm going to do it, I wanted to have something. And it was amazing few years. Like, we did great 3 years. I enjoyed it. I loved all of my guests that came in. I met so many new people, like you, just coming in. And that's what I loved. And eventually I
Mhm.
decided to do a little more TV.
Okay. So let's talk about TV. Just now you've competed. This time you went back for judging. What were you
Yes.
bringing as a judge to the table versus a contestant to the table?
I think, for me, it was sympathy and empathy. A lot of times I feel like when people are judging, they tell you how they would have done it.
Mhm,
And for me, that was never helpful. I'm my own cook. I have my own stories. I have my own experience. Fundamentals are fundamentals. Like, you can tell me things needed to be seared more. They weren't crispy. They didn't have enough seasoning. Those are very typical things. But my mind may go differently than yours when you see a product. So for you, I don't tell people how to cook. I help
mhm.
them become better cooks.
Okay.
And so I think when it came to judging, I was very much, looking at that in that way, and wanting to make sure that let them stay true to their dish. And I
Mm,
did not want to tear them down. I always wanted to make sure that after our encounter, they were just better. They had a better understanding. You didn't have to wonder what I was thinking. I'm just going to tell you, whether you agree or not, that's on you. But I had some great people that I've had the ability to work with, and I've seen them grow. When you do a show for the whole season, you see
mhm.
where they start, you see where they finish, and it's almost like they're your babies at that moment. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And
Right.
so I've done Top Chef. I've competed on things very long time ago. I remember Cutthroat Kitchen back in the day,
Yeah.
first season. I did that craziness. It was fun though. And then, Top Chef Junior judging Top Chef. Now it's crazy to be on the other side of that, remembering how it felt to stand there in the silence, and just have your whole heart feel like it's right outside your chest, and everyone, eating your food and not knowing what to say, what to think, how you did, questioning and re-questioning everything. So when I talk to them, I really remember what it felt like. And then I also remember that my job is to make them better.
Right.
So in that, I need to be honest.
Awesome, awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the pandemic and going back. What was that time like for you, in terms of, and what continued to push you through to make sure that you kept going to get to where you are, in 2022? What was that time like?
So before I opened Private Social, I had a restaurant that I was a chef of, and it was called Go Fish. I told you it's a place
Mhm,
where I got the call for Top Chef. Go Fish closed without me making any decisions. So I
Okay.
was executive chef, and I realized that I had no real say so about how we do things at that moment. And so the owners decided to close the restaurant. Again, I'm the face of the restaurant, so it looked like I closed the restaurant.
Okay.
People at the time don't understand the differences, right? Executive chef or like owner in the moment. And I remember the feeling of having to look all of my cooks in the face. And I remember having to have the phone calls because they closed it in the middle of the night. Like I
Okay.
didn't
Wow.
know all of a sudden it's done. And everyone was looking to me for how they're going to make money. Like, what are we going to do, chef? And
Mhm.
I didn't have all the answers. All I know is that the feeling that I got in that moment was something that I will probably carry with me for the rest of my life. So when pandemic arose, it was like that same feeling of your restaurant is about to close on you. Like
Mhm.
you have a responsibility to everyone who has entrusted you with their lives, with their families' lives. And so for me, my restaurants, we're close. Like it's different than any other restaurant I've ever been a part of. I can call them and they will be there. They will cook their butts off and they will work hard because they know I will also be on the other side of that, waiting and cheering and be there for them when they need me. And so when pandemic came about, I just got into high gear of what do I have to do? Whatever it was, whether it was making phone calls, I was talking to government and city officials of trying to get lunches and trying to do things. Do you have this budget?
Mhm.
And it was crazy for a while. We switched with a lot of things. We one week something would work, the next week it didn't. We went to bare minimum and just tried to, have different people. And then I ended up getting a contract from our waste department, and they were going to do meals for their employees and their families. And so it ended up being like every week we do Tuesdays 200 people, Thursday 800 people, which in reality it was a family of four for 800, right? And so we ended up hiring and having everyone in more than full time to be able to execute, and we started getting more of those deals. But for me, we would do family meals, and that meant that one, our supply chain was broken, so there was no way of getting consistent product of anything. Every day was a day. Let's just say that. It was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, what is it today by 8 a.m.? What is it that's gonna be right today? Let's just go for that.
Right.
So I would have to wake up. I would go to different stores. I would talk to farmers who wasn't able to sell their product anymore. We would take bulk anything, and then we would make those meals out of that. And then I would have to go back. I would call every person. We'd have hundreds of people doing orders. I would physically write down names, type it out, have their orders done. We started doing curbside. We didn't have any kind of thing like that.
Mhm.
We organized being able to have curbside service delivered to your car, processing all of that. Then the next day going in doing it again. So every day it was delivering. We would
Yeah.
pack up our cars. It would be like three of us, and we we're packing cars, delivering it to some site. But everything required a touch from me. We were doing food that we didn't normally do. So I had to show them how to do it. We had to pack it all up. Then we had to deliver it. The next day I have to go to the store, grocery shop again, figure out what containers we're going to use,
Right.
write down all the people's stuff, get all the information. And it was just a lot. So I feel like
Mhm.
we have been going since that moment, and it's been
Mhm.
very little rest, and thankful for it all. But sometimes you're like, whoo. I remember seeing people walking and jogging and getting out, and I was like, "Urgh."
I know, right? Whatever. So what? You can get some exercise in today, huh?
How nice that you can take those nice walks from the park.
Exactly. And I was asking you before we started to come on, what keeps you motivated then through all of that to not just say, you know what, I can't fight another. I'm tired of fighting. And fighting meaning, like you said, the ingredients are not available today. All of that can take a strain mentally.
Sure. I
How do you?
mean, it's my responsibility. I don't really feel like that's an option to
Okay.
stop. I mean, there are a lot of people relying on me. I'm relying on me. The next
Right.
generations are relying on me. So I have to take more of those moments of rest, but
Mhm.
the things that I won't do is stop. I mean, I just can't. Like, it's not in me to do it. Um, and there are days when you definitely feel the pressure of
Mhm.
all those projects and all those things that are going on. Um, but I mean, like the saying goes, failure is not an option.
Right.
So, I was telling you before I started off in sports. I played a lot of sports in my time in life, and I think that's where I get the competitive edge
Nice.
that people see and maybe don't understand how deep it goes. I'm like, don't let the dimples fool you. My dad, he has a saying. He says, Tiff's like a duck. On the
Uh-oh.
outside, she looks cool, calm, and collected. Underneath, she's getting it. And so I think that's very true.
Wow, I love it. I love it. So let's get into your new restaurants. You've got, well, not new, but but Roots Southern Table and then also Roots Chicken Shack. Tell us about those concepts.
Yeah, Root Southern Table we have in Dallas primarily. It's called Farmers Branch, and it is the newest of all. It's where I am the most free. I love walking into that building. I hate when I'm away.
Mhm.
I love being able to cook foods that one I grew up with. Also finding ways to have other influences and what makes sense, and just talking through some of those stories. We have a meeting today where we're gonna talk about how do we have influences from other cuisines that have a very much Black influence on their food. So I think that we're always figuring it out, always rethinking, why does this make sense? How does this make sense? So it's fun to do that. I've been in a place where most of the creativity comes from me. So I am at the point where I'm teaching the next ones on that process. And that is something as well, because, everybody has their own experience. And so I'm trying to get them to embrace where they're from so that that can also be put on the plate. But, that comes with time. You just have to continue to do it and become comfortable. Roots Chicken Shack is my fast casual concept. We're inside of Plano, Texas, which is outside North Dallas, and then we're in Austin, Texas. We're inside of HEB Mueller, so HEB
Okay.
is a partner for us, and it's going great. We do duck fat fried chicken wings and strip sandwiches, things like that. We're getting ready to franchise Roots Chicken Shack, so hopefully it'll be
Wow.
coming to you, all over.
Wow.
That's great. And then we have a deal we did in DeSoto, which is the largest population of Black and Brown, where we're going to be doing our first drive-through for Roots Chicken Shack. And we're excited about that because for us, it's about finding people, one, who look like me
Mhm.
or who are never given opportunities to be able to have ownership. And so for me, Roots Chicken Shack is so much more than just a restaurant. It is an opportunity to change folks' lives in ways that only they dreamed or maybe they didn't. And
Okay.
so we're using that vehicle to be able to make some true changes. And we're looking to put them in other places. But right now, our DeSoto store is the one. We own the land, which is how we did this deal.
Right.
And we are
Right.
now building a multi-unit on that property as well. So we're very excited about what we're doing with T2D. It's great.
Wow.
I just love
Wow.
it.